curious, slightly hushed tone. "Look closely at this room. This is Timmy, and right now he is in a state of absolute terror. The threat, a single, completely harmless moth fluttering near his desk lamp. But Timmy doesn't have to deal with it. Right on cue, his shadow steps up. With glowing white eyes and total physical confidence, the dark silhouette steps out of sync with Timmy and delivers a flawless karate chop to the moth's shadow on the wall." This is a regular occurrence. Timmy's day is a gauntlet of imagined horrors. A popping toaster sends him diving for cover. A squeaking floorboard prompts a full tactical retreat. Every single time, his shadow is forced to play the hero. It intercepts imaginary threats, checks under the bed, and constantly pulls Timmy back from the brink of his own panic. It's exhausting work. The breaking point arrives on the sidewalk outside. A tiny, harmless puppy lets out a high-pitched yap, and Timmy's brain short-circuits. He completely faints on the spot. Timmy hasn't learned how to process fear. He has simply outsourced his entire survival mechanism to a two-dimensional projection of himself, leaving the actual boy completely helpless. The shadow has finally reached its limit. Standing over the unconscious boy, it places hands on hips in utter exasperation, gripping a tiny mimed suitcase. It takes deliberate action. Gripping its own dark edges, the silhouette rips itself right off the soles of Timmy's shoes, like peeling Velcro, and walks straight out the front door. Minutes later, Timmy wakes up. He looks down at the floor, sees the empty space beneath him, and lets out a scream into the totally silent room. His psychological safety net is gone. For the first time in his life, there is no buffer between Timmy and the terrifying reality of the physical world. Without a cast shadow anchoring an object to the ground plane, the human brain loses a critical reference point for depth perception. Plotting the trajectory line here, Timmy's spatial anchor is missing. He misjudges the entryway entirely and walks face first into the doorframe. Things escalate quickly. When a thunderstorm rolls in, his frantic attempt to dive under the covers ends with him clumsily tripping over his own feet and crashing to the floor. He might have stayed hidden there forever, but biology forces his hand. The refrigerator is empty, his stomach is growling, and he has to leave the house. The walk to the corner store is a high-stakes navigation through an alien landscape. Without his protector, every passing car and rustling bush registers as a lethal threat. Then his first major obstacle appears, the exact same tiny puppy from earlier. Out of pure habit, Timmy strikes a defensive pose, shuts his eyes, and waits for his shadow to handle it. Realizing he's alone, Timmy attempts the shadow's karate chop himself. Steps onto a discarded banana peel, he flips wildly through the air, miraculously sticking the landing in a perfect, aggressive superhero crouch.
The sudden, aggressive pose startles the dog, sending it running. Timmy remains terrified on the inside, but sheer physical momentum and a heavy dose of luck are starting to simulate survival. Further down the block, a much higher stakes crisis emerges. A massive street bully is in the middle of wrestling a purse away from an elderly woman. Timmy's immediate reflex is to flee in the opposite direction. He spins around in a panic, but his jacket snags heavily on a piece of chain-link fence. Trapped, he begins thrashing wildly against the metal. This terrified flailing vibrates the fence all the way down the alley, toppling a massive stack of metal trash cans directly onto the bully. The purse flies back into the old woman's hands. She looks at the buried bully, then looks up at Timmy, profusely thanking him. He is violently shaking, but gives a weak nod to accept the credit. It's a bizarre irony.
Timmy's absolute peak cowardice is translating to the rest of the world as outward, reckless heroism. Groceries secured, Timmy is successfully walking himself home when a desperate cry for help echoes out of a dark, narrow alleyway. He peeks around the corner and sees a shocking role reversal. His formerly confident shadow is trembling against a brick wall, cowering beneath the massive, clawed silhouette of a monster. Timmy traces the light back to the source. The terrifying monster projecting that shadow is just a completely ordinary, very angry stray alley cat sitting directly in front of a street lamp. There are no banana peels or chain-link fences here. Momentum won't save the shadow. Timmy has to make a conscious, deliberate choice to become the protector. He stops shaking.
He takes a long, deep breath, pulls a flashlight from his grocery bag, and steps directly into the light path between the cat and the wall. Raising his hands into the harsh beam, he twists his fingers together. He casts a massive, roaring T-Rex hand puppet onto the bricks that violently snaps its jaws at the cat's silhouette. The actual cat takes one look at the towering dinosaur shadow, lets out a panicked screech, and sprints entirely out of the alley. By manipulating the light himself, Timmy externalized his own courage. He defeated the threat using his own hands, proving the capacity for bravery was there the entire time. The alley falls quiet. The shadow looks up at the boy in pure awe. Timmy extends a trembling but fully determined hand to help his companion up. With a satisfying snap, the shadow's dark feet lock seamlessly back onto the soles of Timmy's shoes. On the final stretch home, a large, scary beetle drops directly into their path. Both Timmy and the shadow jump back in fright. But this time they catch their breath, look at each other, laugh, and simply walk around it. They still get scared, but the baseline has evolved. True bravery does not require eradicating fear. It requires the internal confidence to step into a terrifying world and handle it yourself.